Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and here we explore the world of fountain pens, ink, and paper. And today, it's a pen day, and I'm excited about this one. One of the things I like to share with you on this channel are pens that are high value, high quality, and offer something of a higher than average experience. And sometimes that comes through the way that the pen fills with ink, like a vac filler or a piston pen. Sometimes it has to do with it being vintage, like an upcoming review of a Parker 61 set that I got not that long ago. And sometimes it's just a new pen from, say, PenBBS, because PenBBS ticks all those boxes: high value, good quality, affordability, and sometimes a unique or unusual approach to filling the pen with ink that you want to know about. And this one, again, has all that. This is the somewhat new, I've had it for a couple of months, sitting there on the desk waiting its turn, Model 470 from PenBBS. And of course, as you can see, I got mine in the galaxy blue with the silver trim. It's my favorite acrylic from PenBBS and my favorite combo with trim. And so when I can get that in a pen, I do. Now this one comes with their medium nib, which I like. It's just a standard nib, but one of the cool things about PenBBS is that they are really great at making a standard nib unit easily replaceable, extra parts available, including different nibs. So you can get a fine that has a slight turn to it, like an almost Waverly, that I really like. Offers just a little bit of line variation and a smooth writing experience. And then you have this medium, but you also have more than several architect nibs and calligraphy nibs, especially a lot of different types of Chinese calligraphy nibs and things like that that are available. And those too are at really good prices. A standard nib unit is several dollars. A specialty nib unit can be $20. A gold nib, that'll set you a little over $100. I'm not sure what the current price is. And then you can get into high-end nibs that you can special order from them with incredible engraving work. So you have a ton of options that make all of their pens nearly an interesting test bed for those different nibs. And then of course you also have different options with the different models of how the pen fills, which brings us back to the Model 470. This pen does not fill in the way that you might think. It's not a cartridge converter, it's not a piston filler, it's not an eyedropper. And while it does work on the premise of using vacuum to pull in ink, it's not what we traditionally call a vac filler. So what is it? Well, that's what we're going to look at in this review. So let's just go ahead and spin that camera and get started. And here it is. This is the PenBBS 470, a new model from PenBBS in the last few months. And this one again in galaxy blue resin. Apologize, by the way, for the Band-Aid. It's not really, it's got a face for radio. Not a big deal, just a small cut made while I was loading wood pellets into the wood stove the other day during the freeze. But back to the pen. So, new model, and there will be things here that you will notice are similar to other pens. The clip, for example, has been on a few new models from PenBBS, and I think it looks good here as well. And at the finials, here at the top of the cap and at the bottom, or I guess that would be technically the top of the filling knob, you have that same design. Looks kind of like a symbol, and you see that in some classic Chinese designs. Some of you would know more about that than I would. And you will notice while we're down here that filling knob has quite a bell-shaped curve to it, and that's to make it easy for you to pull on. And that is, by the way, all you do. Let's just talk about this before going back over the rest of the pen. When you want to fill the pen, what you will do is pull on this knob, and it's a little bit stiff. There you go. And it kind of wears in. It was definitely a little bit more difficult when I first got the pen, but you just pull it off. And then you pull it all the way out, and then with the pen down in the ink, you will push that in, and it will bring ink into the pen. And then you'll do that 2 or 3 times, but I'll show you that here shortly. Very, very simple mechanism. You will find O-rings, of course, here, because you would need that. That is both what holds that in place and does a good job of it, and what keeps that sealed. And you can, because it is PenBBS, get a parts kit, very affordable, just a few bucks, that will include extra O-rings when those need to be replaced over time. Now, staying on the outside, we've got this band, and you notice that it also has some classic design motifs going on there. PenBBS on one side and the model number on the other. Now, like most of the time, this is a threaded cap. Now, as we look down into the cap, we can see that it is equipped with a liner to prevent dry out. And one of the things that I like about PenBBS is their nib units and grip section. This is unscrewable. You can unscrew that straight from the grip section, or the grip section also comes undone. And I'm going to go ahead and do that since this is not inked. Quite a few threads, very well done. And you can see here that this is the ink tube, which will draw the ink into the pen when you're filling it up. Very easy to clean because you can take all of this apart. You can clean out the inside of the pen. I would do that by flushing it with a syringe. And you can also, as I said, unscrew the nib unit, no problem whatsoever. And then you can pull the nib and the feed out of that nib unit if you need to do that deep a cleaning, because again, these are all serviceable parts. And I do appreciate that. You will also notice that there are O-rings everywhere. There's a silicone O-ring there. There's another one trying to come down with my thumb. So very simple. You just saw that. I took it apart, put it all back together. Here's a picture of what it looks like disassembled down to the nib unit. Again, just very easy to clean and service pen. And now that does bring us to that nib. And as I said, you got lots of choices of nibs that can go into this pen. Usually a new model will come out in fine, the fine that has a slightly turned up nib, sort of a semi-Waverly or a semi-Fude, and of course this medium. But again, you have lots of specialty nib options if you want to upgrade the pen. The medium I like the look of the best because they have this nice laser engraved scrolling, a great big M to help you see which nib you've got, and their nibs in the different sizes, you know, mainly fine, the two fines and the medium, they're distinct from each other. They're easy to see and know which one it is. It's not just the difference between F and M being on there. It's completely different designs most of the time, and I like that too. Turn that around and you have their standard plastic feed. Now, I will tell you two things about PenBBS nibs just in case you're not familiar. These are steel nibs. They are pretty stiff, okay? If you're thinking springy, no, they're not springy. Sometimes the fines write, I think, a little bit dry when you first get them. I say I think. I know a lot of you think so too. And if you'll just go through the steps of taking a dry writing pen and making it a wetter writer, then they work great. Now, some of you will want that dry writing pen from the beginning, and actually I think that's better that if they do it that way, because you can take a dry pen and make it wet very simply. Taking a wet pen and making it dry, that's a harder thing to do, so they probably err on the right side of that. But anyway, I have never had problems with any PenBBS nib unit. I have sometimes worked to make my fines right just a little bit wetter. Now, their grip sections are a nice length, very easy to find a comfortable place to write with that pen. The threads are not intrusive or uncomfortable. There's not really much step down there, just a little bit. And if your fingers are down here, you're not even going to feel that. There is kind of a grip stop, if you want to call it that, down at the very end. And just very easy to find a comfortable place to write with this pen. Now, the pen can post, but as you can see, very long and a bit back heavy. But if you insist that it posts, it does do that. Otherwise, I find this just right. Really nice balanced pen, plenty of length, and it'll fit most grips quite well. All right, so then just how big is this pen? Well, it is a large standard sized pen, okay? Pretty standard, but a little bit bigger. As you can see here, next to a Diplomat Viper, which is not a small pen, it's a standard sized pen. It's a little bit bigger than that, a little larger in diameter, a little bit longer pen as a whole. The Custom Heritage 92 is kind of a medium-sized fountain pen, and you can see that kind of shows up there in the comparison. But if you don't have a fountain pen, maybe a zebra gel pen will help you figure that out. So larger than a standard pen, but not overwhelmingly large. For example, last week I reviewed the Ashira Aeon, and it's a pretty small pen compared to that one, but it's not a small pen. And then with those pens uncapped and unposted, you can see it actually becomes, you know, still a little longer than the other two pins, but pretty standard compared to the gel pins. And then with the pins posted, you get what I'm saying? It becomes a little bit of a baseball bat in length. It's a little long when you put that on there. Some of you will still prefer that, but some will definitely want to know that posted, you know, it's going to be back weighted. All right, let's talk fillings. First, the ink today is going to be this Jinhao Deep Blue. I've had this for a couple of years or so, and I really like this ink. It has nice shading. It's a nice sort of a blue-black, and I'm on a bit of a blue-black kick. I may have to do a blue-black comparison, which I feel like I've said out loud here before. So again, what you'll do is simply pull this straight out. You don't have to twist anything or anything like that. In fact, don't do that because this trim ring here can come undone, as some users have found out. But you just pull that out, put that down in the ink, and then, I'm trying not to get ink from the rim of the bottle all over me, you press that down, don't snap it in, bring it back up, press it down, back up, press that down, and then snap it in, and you should have a pretty good fill. Simple as that. Again, this is the 470. You have to kind of keep those numbers straight. They don't come out in numerical order. For example, I have a pen that's an old model from years ago that's a 480. This is the 470. I don't know if that's me or the pen there. That's probably me. But we'll check out the speed test here in a second and see whether that was likely me or not. The nib on this pen is a medium. And let's check for wetness. That's all right. Not too bad. Ink today, in case you didn't catch it a second ago, is Jinhao. Got that on AliExpress a long time ago, and it's called Deep Blue. You might not be able to tell it so much here. You know, this is a little bit of a narrow medium. It's not a Western medium. You can get just a little bit of line variation out of that, but you're not going to get it by just by nature. You're going to have to coax it out of there. What I was going to say is that you might not be able to tell it as much with this nib because it is a little bit narrow for a medium, but there is some nice shading in this ink. Maybe as that dries, we'll be able to see that a little bit. Just go as far as we can on that line. This is a nice smooth nib. Now, it's not buttery smooth. It's not like the nib in that Aeon that I reviewed last week. That one is really, really nice and smooth. And the next pen that I have coming up is a Benu with a broad nib, and that has spoiled me. That is a really nice nib, a Schmidt broad, really, really nice. This isn't that smooth, but it's good. I'm hungry. Can you tell? Can you tell? I got some red curry that's going to be leftover lunch, all right? Let's do our speed test and see how it keeps up with faster writing. Now, these are just random, but this is real time. I saw a little bit there. I don't think that was me. I think it dried just a little bit right there. You can see in the speed test what I'm talking about with the shading of this Jinhao Deep Blue. It's really pretty nice. But I find that it keeps up with normal writing just fine. Anyway, is the pen a good pen? Yes, I like it. And like I say, the fact that you can get a variety of nibs also makes any of their pens appeal. Easy way to fill a pen. I don't know that it's easier than a piston. I really like piston filling pens, or easier than a vac filler. I, to be honest, don't know what the advantage or disadvantage of this particular way of filling is compared to those. It seems like my father-in-law likes to say often, 6 one way, half dozen the other. But people like unique filling systems and like to try the different things, and everybody finds their own favorites. And this could be yours. I do like the overall design of the pen. I like that they're including some design elements that used to only be on their special edition pens, on their more standard pens. They're not just bringing back old designs, though I love it when they do that. Hear that, PenBBS? I love it when y'all do that. Like the 480, very similar to a Schaefer Balance, but a cartridge converter. Wonderful pen. I love that one. If you haven't seen that review, go check it out. But anyway, I like that they're incorporating some of their own design language, both in the decorations around the band. Here you have it, both in the deep curve of the knob and in the finials at both ends of the pen, and I like that. As I said, PenBBS folks are enthusiasts in the pen world. They're not just pen makers, they're enthusiasts in the pen world, and that comes through, I think, in every pen that they put out. Whether it's a very classical design or a polarizing special edition, there have been some of those. You have to give them credit. They do excellent work and they provide terrific value. But what say ye? Do you like the pen? Is this one to your taste or not? I mean, there's not a lot offensive here, certainly. But what about the filling mechanism? Is that one that intrigues you? Is it something that you would want to check out and maybe that works with your mechanical mind? Or are you going, what do I need with another way to fill a pen? I don't know. You could go either way on this thing, right? Share all of that in the comments below. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, you can join the channel and help support what goes on here so that I can bring more of these reviews to you. And you can give some input behind the scenes if you so choose. You can just click on join, check out those possibilities there. And certainly, I very much appreciate those who do, but I appreciate all of you. Really, really thank you for liking, subscribing, for watching, for sharing your views in the comments. And again, just really, really thankful for all of that. So God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to share something else with you in the next review.